I can guarantee if you do this every day, you'll be able to lose your chest fat, your belly fat, and your love handles. This is by far the easiest and the fastest way to be able to do this. I came to this realization in 2020, and as you can compare my weight loss chart from 2019 and 2020, you can see that I lost my weight a lot quicker, and you can see that my physique was so much better. But when I came to this realization, I realized that my previous transformations all were as a result of me working hard and not working smart. And in those years, I was doing a tremendous amount of cardio. I'm talking 2 hours to 3 hours a day, doing high intensity interval training. I was doing resistance training, and I was severely under eating. Now, although I got my result, I didn't feel incredible on the inside. But when I made this change, I finally realized what everyone was doing to be able to, number one, get to that physique and how they were able to maintain it year round. And that one change that I made that changed my life forever was walking. I highly recommend not to click off, because if you watch this video to the very end, you'll be able to achieve a similar transformation and be able to lose an extra 12 pounds or more in a fat loss period. Not only have I been able to implement the strategies that I've been doing in this video, but I've applied them with all of my clients. So I highly recommend, if you want to achieve that 10% to single digit body fat look, or finally see your six pack for the first time, watch this video to the very end, because this information was life changing for me. Before we even get into the science, we need to understand, to be able to lose weight and fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. What that means is that your calorie expenditure needs to be more than your caloric intake. And how do we do that? With expenditure, it's all about how many calories you're burning, and with intake, it's all about the calories that you're eating. And when you're walking, you will be able to burn more calories. Now, where it becomes interesting is that, where are those calories coming from exactly? Is it coming from carbohydrates? Is it coming from protein? Is that coming from fat? And this is when I stumbled across this research paper that showed me that walking was much more superior to running, and this is exactly why. Comparing my transformation and looking at my physique in 2019 and in 2020, I could see there was a marked difference in the amount of muscle mass that I was able to retain, and this was confirmed by a meta-analysis that compared concurrent training when you're doing resistance exercise and a cardiovascular exercise. Now, the research paper number one showed if you're only focused in on resistance training, you will have more effect size, more muscle mass, and your hypertrophy and strength will be higher. However, those three things decrease as you add any aerobic exercise. So it showed that you had less muscle mass and you had less strength and hypertrophy as a result of including any form of cardio, which we all understand. However, doing both of those things did give us a better rate of fat loss. Now, what that research paper did go ahead and do, it started comparing running as your form of cardio versus cycling, and it showed that the individuals who cycled were actually able to maintain much more muscle mass. And the logic behind that is, as the body has less impact, if you're putting less strain on the body, it will allow you to allocate your day-to-day energy sources more so towards training harder and maintaining your muscle mass, but at the same time still allowing you to burn more calories, to burn more weight, and a result to burn more fat. And if you think about it, imagine you go and play a basketball game and then you go to the gym right after. How will you perform in that training session compared to if you just skip the basketball session and you just did training? Of course, you're going to feel a lot more energetic and you're going to push heavier weight as a result. So that's where the logic applies. We all understand that. But once I finally was able to understand that, hey Mike, you just need to be walking more to lose more fat, it was a complete perspective switch. And I finally got out of this mentality of like, hey, you need to work hard versus, hey Mike, you need to work smart. So in this video, I'm also going to explain all the strategies that I've been able to implement after 2020 that made the ability to lose fat so much easier. So I highly recommend you watch this video to the very end. My clients, not only were they able to get to amazing shape as the result of the tips I'm about to give you with walking, but they were able to maintain it year round, because not only did the walking get rid of the fat, but it played a role in doing sustainable management of keeping fat tissue off of their frame. So now we understand why walking, in my personal opinion, is a much more superior cardiovascular exercise and how it helps you burn more calories. Let's do the math. Now, depending on your height and weight, per 1,000 steps, you may be able to burn more calories or less. But usually for a 180-pound individual, you burn about 50 calories per 1,000 steps. If you're a little bit heavier, let's say you're 200 pounds, you may burn 60 calories per 1,000 steps. So I started walking, and what was the result and why did I see this? Why from this experiment was I finally able to get into single-digit body fat so easily? I wanted to find some research that confirmed this self-anecdotal experiment that I had. And the first research paper I stumbled across had 82 men and women, and they were divided into two groups. And we know for you to lose fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. That will always be there fundamentally. However, between the two groups, group 2 did 20 minutes of walking roughly each and every single day. What the results were is that group 2 lost an extra 3.5 pounds over their fat loss period, and that confirmed exactly what happened with me. Because I started implementing walking as my main form of cardio, I was able to lose so much weight, but I wanted to understand why was I losing more fat tissue as a result of the walking compared to when I was working harder doing high intensity interval training. And that was explained by another research paper that I found that was able to see where are those calories actually coming from when you're walking versus when you're running. So what they did is that they were able to trace what amounts of energy we're utilizing. Were you utilizing your calories from fat? Were you utilizing from carbohydrates, or was it coming from protein? And this research paper tested different levels of intensity, and what they utilized was something we call VO2 max. It's an easy way to see how much oxygen capacity you're using. So as the intensity increases, the more oxygen capacity you're using. So 25% is usually you're taking a brisk walk, 65% is what you would consider someone who's jogging, and then 85% is someone who can barely conversate when they're doing their cardio, and this is very high intensity interval training. And what they found was at the lower rates of intensity, like walking at 25% of VO2 max, you can see, according to this graph, that the body was mainly tapping into fat stores as a source of energy. And as that intensity increased, the body would rely less and less on your fat stores as a source of energy, and they would use an energy source that was readily available. And in this case, it was glucose, your carbohydrate and your glycogen stores. And as the intensity increased, so did the body's reliance upon muscle glycogen and glycogen in general as a source of energy. And the best way that I can explain this is that if you're a hybrid car, you're a hybrid engine, you have an electric engine and you have a combustion engine. When you're cruising around in the city, you're usually going very, very slow, just enough to get around, and your electrical engine is in full effect. However, if you're on a highway and you need to get somewhere quickly, your combustion engine kicks in and you start going very quickly. Because carbohydrates is the body's primary energy source, a much more rapid energy source, the body will depend more on that source of energy. That being said, I'm not saying that high intensity interval training is a more superior cardio exercise. However, for fat loss, the odds are all in walking's favor because number one, you're walking and it's tapping mainly into fat stores. And number two, yes, you are burning more calories per unit of time. However, this is where we start to question the sustainability of being able to do that. It's one of the main reasons I could see that I was looking a lot leaner, doing so much less, because my body was utilizing my fat stores in terms of where it was getting the calories from. Now, this is the science and the mathematics behind why walking is so effective. Now, at a day-to-day basis, your body's burning calories through your breathing, your heart beating, your brain thinking, just to maintain it. And this is what we call our basal metabolic rate, our resting energy. Now, you burn more calories through all the activities that you're doing. You're moving around, you're maybe going to the toilet, you're doing work, or you're driving to work, you're going to your car park, etc. And you're burning and you're walking a certain amount of steps. And if you're unsure of how many steps you're getting, I highly recommend, if you have an Android, to check your Samsung Health, or if you're an Apple device user, have a look at your health app and it will tell you the standard amount of steps you're getting. Now, depending on your weight, per 1,000 steps, if you're roughly a 180-pound individual, you'll be burning about 50 calories per 1,000 steps. The heavier and the taller you are, the more calories you'll be burning per 1,000 steps. But for the sake of this video, let's assume you're burning 50 calories per 1,000 steps. If you see according to your health app that you're already walking 5,000 steps, what happens when you go from 5,000 to 10,000 daily steps? Now, we know that 1,000 steps is 50 calories. So if you do 5,000 extra steps, it means that in a day, you'll be burning an extra 250 calories. Now, in the span of a week, 250, multiply that by 7 days in a week, comes up to 1,750 calories, which is exactly the equivalent of half a pound. And how did we figure that out? We know that 1 pound of fat is equivalent to 3,500 calories. So if you're burning 1,750, it means you're burning an extra half a pound, going from 5,000 steps to 10,000. And this is exactly why we've utilized this magic number of 10,000 steps. So in a month, you can burn an extra 2 pounds in a month, an extra 4 pounds in 2 months. And in the span of 4 months, over your fat loss period, not even considering your diet, considering everything stays the same, you can burn an extra 8 pounds of fat. Not only that, we also, without stressing the body, have the ability to increase the number of steps we utilize. And that's exactly why I always recommend my clients, and when we start off, we start at a baseline of 8,000 steps. And every 2 weeks, we increase that by 1,000 steps. And what happens is they end up burning an extra 12 to 15 pounds once they get to 15,000 steps roughly. Now, we understand that the research shows that walking will tap more into fat stores. We also understand the walking will allow us to burn more calories. But another reason, and probably the main reason why walking is so much more easier and allows you to lose weight faster, is that compared to running or high intensity interval training, it's impossible to do each and every single day unless you're a professional athlete. The second thing is that it does cause wear and tear on your body. It is so much harder to maintain running or doing high intensity sprints on your body compared to doing something that you've been doing since you were 10 to 18 months. I can guarantee that you can walk every day for 365 days versus sprinting every day. And I'm talking to the general population. Yes, you get athletes who can do it, but I'm talking to you who's just trying to get into shape. Walking each and every single day will allow you to tap more into fat stores. Not only that, what I was able to find is that my training, my amount of muscle mass, and all the active muscle tissue I was able to keep was so much higher as I was losing the fat tissue compared to when I was doing the sprints, which allowed me to, number one, have a better physique, but number two, because I had more muscle mass on my body, I was burning more calories at rest, and you will achieve that exact same result. And this is exactly why all of my clients look incredible when they finish. And not only that, during this Black Friday, I called all of my clients up and said, hey, we have a deal, are you interested? And a lot of them were like, Mike, I'm in even better shape as a result of more time. So they had more units of time that you can utilize, and all they did was maintain their physique as a result of the steps, and that was their main maintenance plan. So now you may be asking, Dr. Mike, how can I get 8 to 10,000 steps? I'm so busy, I'm seated all the time, I can't even get 3,000. What do I do exactly? And I am going to give you each and every single tip that I have utilized myself and that I've given to all of my clients, and they are the busiest people. So if you have excuses and you just want to come up with an excuse to click on. However, if you do want to get rid of the belly fat, I highly recommend that you watch the rest of the video. Number one, the simplest one is wake up 1 hour earlier. If you've been watching, I've always said 1,000 steps will equal to 10 minutes of walking, and that math will always stay that way. So by simply waking up an hour earlier and maybe just going on a neighborhood walk, or if you're like me and you have an under the desk treadmill at home or one in your living room or any of those, you can go and walk in any place, in a park, wherever. Just waking up an hour earlier will give you 6,000 steps. And the general person already gets 4,000 to 5,000 steps in a day. Even if they have a desk job, that will allow you to get to 10,000. Tip number two, at this stage, we're all going to the gym. And when you're training, you will be training in one set and you're going to have a 1-minute break between each and every single set. Generally, in a training program, you will have about 20 to 21 sets, which means you'll have 20 to 21 minutes where you're actually just resting. So instead of being seated in the gym on your phone or just wasting time, I highly recommend you get up and you walk in that 1-minute rest. This is a great way for active recovery, get your blood flowing at the end of a gym session while you're training. Another easy way to get 2,000 steps. To take it a step further, you can get on the treadmill 10 minutes before your workout as a warm-up, and then maybe do a 10-minute post-workout as a warm down, and you can go from 2,000 steps just in your training session to getting 4,000 steps by adding the extra 1,000 in the first 10 minutes and the extra 1,000 in the second 10 minutes. Tip number three, whenever you get a chance, walk. If you can go to your grocery store instead of driving there, take that opportunity. If you can go to visit somebody and walk, take that opportunity. When I go and get a haircut, I definitely want to jump in the Lambo and just get the haircut, and it's really cool, people are taking photos, but I still take the option of being able to walk there just to be able to accumulate the steps. So whenever you find there's an opportunity and get the chance to walk. Another thing is that, like I've said, when you're working, research has shown that individuals' concentration severely drops after 45 minutes of working. So I recommend that work in 45-minute periods and utilize at least 5 minutes within that hour to be able to move around, and it's actually going to do you so much better for your productivity. Moving on to step number 4. This one is going to take a lot of self-discipline, but if you're living in an apartment building, take the stairs whenever you get a chance. If you go to the mall, instead of using the escalators, take the stairs. If you're at the airport, instead of taking the escalators, take the stairs. Whenever you get an opportunity and you see stairs, take it. This may not make a difference in a day, but over the span of 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, and a year, you will notice a difference. And this is why so many of my clients have lifelong results, because I'm not changing what they're doing in the space of a month. I'm instilling new habits that they're going to do the rest of their life. And this is how you need to approach it, as a complete lifestyle change and training your brain to making new decisions. And when you can do this consistently, voila, chest fat is gone, your belly fat's gone, and your love handles. Let's move on into tip number 5. Of course, the one that's always going to help you if you need it, and if you need to accelerate your process, I always recommend formal cardio. Informal cardio is what I call when you're getting steps, just going to the gym, going to the barbershop, when you're just walking without intentionally looking for exercise. But you can set intentional exercise moments where you're using a Stairmaster, using the elliptical, or you're walking on an inclined treadmill trying to burn calories. Instill actual formal cardio sessions so that you can get those extra steps. And again, 1,000 steps will give you 10 minutes. Whenever I recommend cardio, at the bare minimum when we start, it's 15 minutes of cardio on an incline. That'll give you 1,500. And you can go as high as 30 minutes, and that will give you 3,000 steps. So as you can see, there's so many ways that you can get it. I've just told my clients this as well. You just need to be conscious of how much you're moving. And with that being said, I highly recommend grabbing a pedometer. It can be your Apple Watch, it can be a Fitbit watch or Galaxy watch, it can be any pedometer that's going to be able to track. And although they may not be the most accurate tool, they can be inconsistently consistent, and it's a unit of measurement to see the steps, how much your body is moving. And you'll notice the more you move, the leaner you're going to get as a result. And again, I work with some of the busiest people in the world who are running multi-million-dollar companies, and they're able to get this result just because they're conscious of how much they're moving. And that is why I am making this video, because I want everybody who utilizes these tips to be able to finally see their six-pack, because they said, you know what, I listened to Dr. Mike and I started walking more. And finally, a rule I've implemented myself: whenever you're on the phone, you need to be walking. And I'm on the phone quite a lot between speaking with clients or on a Zoom call. Whenever you're on the phone, set the task of walking. And that's another reason why I love walking. When you're doing high intensity interval training, it's very difficult to be able to multitask and do other work with that. But when you're walking, it's an amazing way to be able to, number one, take care of your mental health, because you can think through your thoughts and you can have better blood flow to your brain. But at the same time, you can go walking with your loved ones, with your partner. You can talk to your loved ones as well over the phone while you're walking. And that's why I love it. I read books while I'm walking. So finally, I highly recommend, and this is more so a paid solution that will help you, is get an under the desk treadmill, a walking pad. I have two. I have one that I utilize with my standing desk that I put it right under if I'm doing work that doesn't require so much attention or me typing. And I have another one in my living room, so if ever I'm watching a series or even after eating a meal, and that gives me another idea, make a rule after each and every single meal that you do 10 minutes to 15 minutes of walking. This will help your digestion. So after breakfast, 10 minutes of walking, after lunch, 10 minutes, after dinner, 10 minutes. That way you already get 3,000. I really hope that this video is helpful. Hopefully from the research I've shown you that walking will tap more into your fat stores. It will help you maintain more muscle. It is something that you can implement each and every single day without as much effort as the running. And because walking allows to give us this approach of it being a marathon versus this sprint of running, it gives you this long-term sustainability. So you may not get your six-pack in the 16 weeks, but it is going to happen no matter what, as long as you keep walking. And I have people who love me just for forcing them to do it. I'm almost trying to force you to do it here. But if you have a story to share with your experience with walking and how it's helped you, let me know in the comments. If you guys want more of these videos where it's me candid and saying the tips that I feel will be life-changing for you, leave the video the gentle thumbs up. I got in the shape of my life as a result of walking, so I highly recommend it for you too. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.